good afternoon, and welcome to APN UFC Live, the afternoon rush, the rush as we call it. It is the rush hour. Here it is 5:35 in Guyana. We want to say thank you very much to those persons who are joining us internationally, in the region, and right here in Guyana. My name is Randolph Critchlow, and I'm always, of course, pleased to have you join us where you can get the credible and valid information. It's been 413 days, 413 days since the March 2nd regional and general elections, and the country is still without credible results from those elections, and we continue to watch. It's been 260 days. 260 days since this administration, this PPP fraudulent administration, would have been installed in government. And of course, they continue to do harm to this country as we see all around Guyana what is happening. Folks, as you know, we continue this afternoon. We will unpack a number of issues. I hope that you had a wonderful weekend. Hope that you had a wonderful weekend, and we say welcome to the new week. As usual, we like to start here on the rush by asking you where are you viewing us from? Shout us out in the comment section. Let us know where you're coming from this afternoon. Your host right here, Randolph Pritchard, will be taking you through a number of issues, unpacking the issues as we normally say here on the afternoon rush, so that you know what is happening. All the credible and valid information that happened over the weekend will be unpacking. There's so much news to go. As the headlines of the program says, folks, COVID, crime, and corruption. Oh, beautiful Guyana. COVID, crime, and corruption. And that is what we will be focusing on. Of course, our story behind the story today is the local government election and where we are with that. And we heard some interesting things coming out of the Elections Commission. We are hearing about this commission of inquiry into the elections, and we'll discuss what the opposition leader had to say about that and how, and I'll share my opinion on that. Also, we'll talk about that in our story behind the story. But we have lots of news to cover. Lots of things happened over the weekend, and we're continuing to see the rise in COVID and the crime in our country. That's why we said today's COVID, crime, and corruption. So let me shout out to those persons as we normally do before as you come on the live and you share your live stream, let your friends and family know. Let me just say hi to those persons who are obeying, following the rules here on the rush hour, by telling us where they're shouting us from. Canada is in the house. Thank you very much for joining all of those lovely people over there in Canada, whichever part you're joining us from. Ontario, Alberta, Toronto. Linden is in the house. St. Vincent in the house. We hope that you're doing well over there in St. Vincent. Thank you very much for being a part. New Jersey. New Jersey is in the house. Shout out to the New Jersey Nets. Sorry to hear that Kevin Durant is injured again, but we'll keep our eyes on. We should have a very interesting playoffs. I like to talk about the NBA when I see these people shouting out. Grove is in the house. Thank you very much for being a part. Brooklyn. Sorry, not the New Jersey Nets. It's the Brooklyn Nets. Sorry. But those basketball aficionados out there who are going to correct me, it's a Brooklyn Nets, of course. Chicago in the house. Miami, thank you very much for being a part. UK, thank you very much for being a part. Toronto, the Raptors are a good team. Miami Heat, of course. And of course, I grew up looking at the Chicago Bulls, of course. Those persons who were introduced to basketball in the 90s know nothing else but Michael Jordan. So, of course. Port Kaituma in the house. Australia in the house. Thank you very much. Iflat in the house. Brooklyn in the house. Again, Brooklyn Nets. Ontario in the house. Thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon. Folks, we're going to get started in just a few minutes as we allow those persons to come into the rush. Come in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Oh, you got everything there. British Columbia, Vancouver, thank you very much for coming in. New York is in the house. East Bank, thank you very much for commenting and let us know you're locked and loaded Those folks in East and East Bank, good afternoon to everyone joining the live as we are about to unpack some of the issues today. Folks, it's going to be a packed afternoon. We're going to be off at 6:30. Of course, Building Bridges with MP Natasha Singh Lewis is going to be on at 6:30. She's going to go all the way up to 7:30. And then, of course, we are going to have In the Ring with Sher Duncan at 8. And you should, of course, tune into that. Listening from Tamari, Queens in the house, France in the house, Brooklyn in the house, East Bank Demerara in the house. Thank you very much for being a part of the rush this afternoon. Share the live, share the live. Let your friends and family know. No catfish in the house. John Yard, of course. No catfish in the house. Esiquibo Candace Wilson, thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon. Let's get it on, folks. Linden. All right. We see Los Angeles Lakers all the way. There's somebody, Gavin, Liverpool is bigging up the Lakers. You're a LeBron fan, I see. Well, you're just a Lakers fan, you know. Well, let's get into that. Um, right. Thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon. Louisiana in the house. Good. Let's get it on, people. It is the rush, and we have lots of information to share with you this afternoon. We have lots of talking points as we continue to see COVID-19 cases skyrocket in Guyana. Folks, the last check, we were at 271 deaths, and that was yesterday. I do not have the numbers for today. If somebody has the numbers, St. Lucia, thank you very much. You're a little late to the party, St. Lucia, but welcome. New Jersey also. Folks, we're talking about COVID. We continue to see skyrocketing numbers. Before I came on air, the last check that I got, my update was 271. If you have an updated number, you can share with me, but that's the last number that I saw. Folks, these are bad numbers. We always start this show by telling you about COVID-19. COVID-19 is on the rise. It is rampant in Guyana right now, and it seems as though, as reported by the health officials, that there's a serious strain right here in Guyana. So we have to be careful. Only recently, the leader of the opposition, called out the government and their approach to COVID-19 as it is. Call on the government and their approach to COVID-19 as it is. Leader of the opposition, Joseph Harman, on Friday said the COVID-19 pandemic is out of control in Guyana. And as we said to you on many occasions, I personally lay the blame to this uptick in COVID-19 squarely at the feet of this PPP, fraudulent PPP administration, squarely at their feet. But folks, we see the continued rise in COVID-19 cases, right? Spiraling out of control. And this is something that we have to be cognizant of, right? They have treated this virus with scant disregard, and it is coming back to bite us. It is coming back to bite us, and we need to be careful. As we are talking about COVID-19, we see this report coming out, and folks, of course, we are always thankful to our friends at Village Voice and News Source Guyana, where we get our credible and valid information from. But we see this report here says that the US CDC notes very high levels of COVID-19 cases in Guyana, and the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention is urging its citizens to avoid traveling to Guyana, noting the very high levels of COVID-19 cases. So now there is a do not travel at all costs, at no cost, travel to Guyana. That is what we are seeing. That is what we're seeing from the international community, because we have failed to take control over the spread of this virus. And you only need to unpack a few details, as I like to do on the show, to understand why we have gotten here so quickly. It is no surprise that you get here when you relax measures intended to curb the spread of COVID-19. It is not rocket science, folks. It is not rocket science. Not rocket science at all. But as we move on, the news cycle is so thick this weekend. We have to move on from this, and of course, we are asking persons to mind what they do with COVID-19. In other news, we also saw this, of course, um, the infamous videotape of the Kanu officer. I call him Move, get out of the way. That's what I call him. Um, Reports coming out of news sources that this Kanu officer has been arrested by police over assault of alleged smuggler and discharging of this firearm. Um, this was, of course, in that GRA Kanu operation in Letem a few days ago. We saw the circulation of this video. We saw the Kanu officer assault the man with the camera in his hand, and the famous, every other day in Guyana is a new video. This one was the Move video. So yes, I'm going to give you some details on this particular story. Police investigators from the Major Crimes Unit have arrested the Customs Anti-Narcotic Unit officer who was caught in camera using his gun to hit an alleged smuggler during a GRA and Kanu operation in Letem. The investigators were dispatched to the border town to probe the incident after the video recording was made its rounds on social media. Head of Kanu, James Singh, has confirmed the arrest and told news source, of course, thank you for the Focus News Source we're getting information from, that the officer, is being held without bail. The Kanu officer was arrested on alleged assault and discharging a loaded firearm. Of course, you remember 3 days ago, the joint operation by the Guyana Revenue Authority and Kanu led to the arrest of businessman Lyndon Franklin after he was nabbed with a large quantity of smuggled liquor and uncustomed good. Right? So this operation led the people to the man's yard, and there was a confrontation between the man and the officers and the dog. And so we ended up with that video where the officer felt that he, you know, needed to use his gun to hit this person who was recording him. Update on that story is that this officer is now being arrested, and we will continue. We'll keep our ears to the ground as to what is happening or what happened there with that particular story. Folks, continuing the news, before we get to our stories behind the story, continue on the news cycle. We saw recently, folks, we told you we were following this story for a number of days now. And we have said to you, and we flagged this issue with ExxonMobil. Now we see the leader of the opposition has joined this conversation and lent his voice to this issue that we see arising from Exxon. We call them Exxon more bills because there's more and more bills being put forward instead of actual profits, right? Leader of the opposition, Joe Harmon, requested urgent meeting with ExxonMobil Guyana president. Right, he requested an urgent meeting to discuss the company's sharp reduction in production and the continued flaring. This is an issue that we were talking about for many, many weeks now, way back, many months. I would have interviewed folks, the former head of the EPA, Dr. Vincent Adams, and we spoke about this flaring and the fact that ExxonMobil is essentially presenting this case that the contract sign says that they can flare. Folks, we have highlighted this. They continue to flare, they continue to dump the water out there, the reservoir water, back into the ocean when they know these things are not environmentally sound. Now we have a significant reduction in the production from 120 barrels a day now to 30,000, sorry, 120,000 barrels a day to 30,000 barrels a day. Some 90,000 barrels being cut from the production. But this is what we're seeing. And the leader of the opposition, of course, has requested a meeting with them. Mr. Harmer said that he is in receipt of a number of queries from his constituents, civil society, and concerned citizens, expressing their worry that the performance since inception of the Liza Destiny rig appears to be far below expectation, and this is eroding their confidence and safety in the safety and environmentally sound operation. So, and he also said that similar queries have been received by members of parliament, and this is why he wrote the letter to the president of Exxon. So we're keeping our eyes on this particular issue. We're keeping our eyes on this particular issue. Right. As we said, there are a number of other things in the news as we continue down the news road. What else is happening, folks? Let me just stop here and slow down a bit so that we can fully appreciate where we are in this country. If it's not COVID, it's corruption. If it's not corruption, it's crime. And I want to, for the sake of everyone, go through some of the headlines over the last 24 hours, so to speak. I want to go through the headlines because people may believe that we are making these things up. But we're not. These are credible and valid information being given to you. Let's go through some of the headlines over the last 24 hours, and you will see an alarming trend of serious crimes. And I want persons to understand, when we talk about crime in this country, when we talk about the crime situation, you just need to look at your newspapers, you know. We just need to look at it. The alarming trend, I'm going to go and read you some headlines from the last 24 hours, right? These are some stories from today and yesterday, right? First headline, a 29-year-old man from Brighton Village in Quarantine was shot on Saturday night at a barbecue by a man armed with a handgun who robbed the two of gold chains valued $1.5 million. This headline, man shot, robbed at barbecue. This is 9 hours ago, this headline. 10 hours ago, police still searching for robbers who attacked Matai. This is the situation in our country. 10 hours ago, body of fisherman found floating in Oriala at Oriala Point. This is the situation in our country. Let's continue going down. 11 hours ago, Cane Grove man fatally stabbed. That's 11 hours ago, Cane Grove man fatally stabbed. This is in the last 24 hours. We ain't reached 24 hours yet. And it's a serious sign of where the country is headed and what is really happening in Guyana. If we can read these crime headlines like this one after the other. One after the other. In a matter of 24 hours, the amount of stories we see out there. I just read 4 for you, and that might not be all. I just read 4 of them. But we see this alarming and concerning trend of serious crime happening in our country daily. Right? There are still persons who are missing. People are talking about, oh, the two young men who were found who were missing and then were found dead, and then there are still those other persons who are missing, who are reported missing and not yet found. But folks, these are alarming signs. Here's an alarming trend, and we want you to understand that as Guyanese citizens, safety should be an important issue. It should be an important issue to you. Security should be an important issue. I just read four headlines here from the last 24 hours. Serious crime. People stab, people rob, people found dead. This is the country we live in. If it's not COVID, it's corruption or it's crime. Right? PPP COVID, PPP corruption, PPP crime. That is the state of affairs in our country. Folks, as we continue down the news train this afternoon, because I said to you, it's a whole lot of news. It's a whole lot of news to get through. This weekend, the APNU AFC and parliamentarians and the leader of the opposition went on the move. They were in region number 5, Calcutta, Blairmont, sorry, not Blairmont, Belladrum, a number of villages on the Berbice coast there, and they distributed some small tablets to children. They met with the villagers, got their concerns. This is what happened on Sunday for those persons who are now joining. We are talking about the APNU AFC on the move. Folks, we know all of what is happening in our country. We know the ills of the PVP. But I was heartened this weekend to travel with the leader of the opposition and just to listen to those citizens who came out to hear what the opposition has to say and to understand how they are working on behalf of these persons, people who they represent, their constituents. And the feedback that we got from persons, of course, they are 260 days into this PVP regime, this fraudulent administration's tenure, and they're sick of it. They're sick of it. Plus COVID making them sick of the crime, sick of the corruption. And it's really interesting to listen to these people. Of course, we said that the opposition did more than just talk to the people, but they also distributed tablets to young people in the community. Right. Some persons are in the comment section. We'll get to your comments in a bit. Thank you very much for bringing those issues to my attention. But yes, the APNU AFC, they fanned out on the Region 5 area, and they met with the citizens and they spoke with them. They got their concerns, they got their feedback, got their questions, and those persons who were there, the information was taken, and of course they'll move to ensure that they can remedy whatever situations. And I'm happy to see that they were distributing tablets to young people. Of course, we are in COVID season. Of course, a lot of young people can't necessarily go to school at this point in time, so they need these devices so that they can be able to be a part of their school, their class. So I'm thankful for that. Just bring you some more of the images there of what happened this weekend. Folks, as we move up closer to the 6 o'clock hour, let me say we're going to get to two major stories. I want to deal with two major stories as we deal with the stories behind the story this evening. Again, thank you very much for being a part of the live stream. Those persons who are now joining, remember, it's a simple price for admission. Share the live stream. Let your friends and family know that credible and valuable information is being unpacked here in The Rush. We're going to be going up to 6 5:30 this evening, and then of course we'll be followed by Miss MP Natasha Singh Lewis, who's going to be doing building bridges. But let's get it, folks. Let's jump into one of my stories. This evening, we have two stories behind the story. Two significant stories that I want to take my time and unpack this afternoon. Right? I want to take my time and unpack these stories because it's really significant. First story behind the story, right? And my operator seems to be sleeping. Let me play let ensure that we have our intro for the story behind the story. Good. So the story behind the story, folks, is such an interesting one. I want to get into this story of the sugar workers protesting. I'm going to read the basics of the story so you understand and you get an idea of what is happening, so to speak. Right? So, Albion and Blaymont sugar workers took to the street today. And you know why I want to dig deep into this story? Let me just read the first part of it. Like the workers at IFLOT, the sugar workers at Albion and Blairmont made a single collective call on Gaisuko to address the long outstanding dispute in earnest. The sugar workers at Albion Estate picketed today. Albion and Blairmont picketed today whilst accusing the Guyana Sugar Corporation of ignoring their plight and cause to improve wages and salaries. Folks, let me read a little bit more of it. Last Friday, sugar workers at IFLOT Estate returned to the picket line to the same issue. Right? The sugar workers today said that they are peeved that the sugar company remains mum on the issue about increasing their wages and salary. The Ghana Agriculture and General Workers Union today urged Gaisuko to return to the negotiating table with the view of having this matter settled. The protesting workers complain that while they are not unmindful of the cooperation situation, it appears that Gaisuko is neglecting their plight. Let's unpack this. Let's unpack this. Folks, Gaisuko and what they are going through right now, I have no sympathy for them. This is a demon of the PPP's own making. That is all I will say. This issue is a demon of the PPP's own making and they have to deal with it. Persons may recall that, some in our society, those persons who are thinking rationally, have said over and over that Gaisuko is a waste of taxpayers' money, it's a waste of your money, it's a waste of my money. It has been likened to many things like a black hole or a waste pit or a money shredding machine. Those paper shredders? That is what the government, this fraudulent administration, has decided to do with taxpayers' money. Take billions of it and throw it down this black hole that is Gaisuku. Now, you know that this sugar don't make any money. You know this. This is a fact. You know that we have to support sugar. We have to take money from other areas and give to sugar. Right? This is what we know. Now you have a situation where you have reopened and restarted and, so to speak, restructured this sugar industry. still can't figure out how it can make money, because you probably need a magician to do it. I don't know if the Minister of Agriculture is a magician or Says Narayan Singh is a magician. Because I think it's Says Narayan is the one that they gave the CEO position to, right? Like that. I may stand corrected. I don't know if he's a magician and he has some magic wand that he can wave over the sugar industry and suddenly turn it around to make it profitable. You know what the problem here? The problem that I see here is that this administration being faced with this issue in sugar where workers want more money. Note, many of these workers were given their severances by the APNU AFC when they were trying to right size sugar, and they closed some of those estates that weren't being profitable. So they took the severances, did whatever they want to do with it. The people come, they rehire them, and now the people are saying, look, this money ain't enough. Note, this government has already gone to the parliament to ask permission for billions of dollars to force down to in this black hole of sugar. Right? This is it. The problem that I see is that the government will probably come again to the parliament. They will probably come again to the parliament and say, you know what, we need some more money because we need to pay these sugar workers who are working on an estate. I call it a plantation because that's what it is, a plantation that doesn't make money. So you have thousands of workers, possibly, who got to get increase for doing a job that doesn't make money. Right? Let me say this very clearly. Gaisuko, as it is right now, is a national embarrassment. Simply put, Gaisuko, as currently constituted, that you find place to siphon off money from the public purse to give to this waste of money is a national embarrassment. Again, unpacking what is happening in front of our eyes. Gaisuko is strapped for money, strapped for cash. Though it was given billions of dollars, it doesn't make any money. It's like a big white elephant, can't do anything with it. It is losing money, you're giving it money. Now you have to find more money to pay these workers who are working in a job on a plantation that don't make money. So where is Gaisuko getting this money to give these increases? That is what I want to know. Somebody explain to me. I need one of these economic scholars to explain to me in simple words, where is Gaisuko going to get this money to increase, so you increase the salaries? And we are waiting, Guyana is waiting because you may remember, right? And I say this clearly. Let me take off my glasses. I say this clearly. Public servants were not given any increases. Two budgets passed. Public servants were not given increases. We are waiting to see whether these sugar workers will be given increases. And where the government finding money to give sugar workers increases when sugar ain't making any money? I wonder if these sugar workers will get their increases before public servants get an increase. That is the question. That is the question I want answered. And whether public servants will sit down and accept that the sugar workers who are working on the plantation that doesn't make money, it's a total waste of money, can demand increase, get an increase, and the public servants go to work every day running the country's bureaucracy, and they can't get an increase. There's nothing in there for them. Right? Nurses, they were on the front line protesting. They wanted increase. The teachers wanted increase. The police wanted increase also. All the government agency workers want an increase. So we're waiting with bated breaths to see whether or not the government will find some money to continue lining the pockets of the sugar workers who are working in an industry that doesn't make money. Let's see. Right? Let us see what will happen in that situation. Folks, this is a serious, serious situation playing out in front of us, unfolding in front of us. And we need to ask these questions. We need to ask these questions directly. Where is the money going to come from? And when you give the sugar workers money for basically working in a waste time industry, what are you going to say to the public servants who under the APNU AFC receive consistent increases every year? To the end where in 2020 the APNU AFC could have boasted that minimum wages were raised by 70% in their time. We've had 2 budgets now, and this fraudulent administration can't say where the public servants' salary increases. But we are going to see. We are going to see whether or not this administration gives any money to sugar. And whether or not the nurses, the teachers, the public servants, all of them decide that they're going to sit down and take that foolishness. But that is where we are, folks. That is where we are. And that is the issue number 1 as it relates to the story behind the story. You know what's the story behind the story here? That this administration, this fraudulent PPP administration, will run back to the parliament and say we need some more money to give to these sugar workers and then to pump into sugar. And then what will happen? Let us keep our eyes on this, folks. Let us keep our eyes on this. Folks, as we talk about that, let us segue nice and smoothly into our second story behind the story. Our second story behind the story, let me see if I have it here. Sorry. Let me just see if I can pull it up for you. Right. Has to do with local government elections. Right, and as I read some of the comments, Ms. Thomas is saying so far the public servants are accepting it. People are saying public servants should hit the streets. All good things to say. But let us see what will happen. Let us see what will happen with this. Let me see if I can pull this up for you. This is our second story behind this story. And it's here. Right. Folks, when I talk about people rising up, people getting um, serious about the issues that affect them, these are the things that I want to bring to the fore. Right? These are the things that I want to bring to the fore. We're picking up, and I encourage you this afternoon to go and read this article. I want you to go and read this article. Right? It is a very interesting and nice article. It's it's comprehensive, and it deals and gives you a good picture of where this administration, fraudulent administration is as it relates to the thinking about local government elections and the preparedness for local government elections. Right? Let me just read the headlines to you. Right? This is the headline, folks. Look at it. No talks of local government elections at GCOM. No talks. And I want you to understand the seriousness of what we are about to discuss and unpack. We have been saying to you since 2020, when this administration would have been fraudulently installed, that they will try something like this. They will try something like this. They will want to deprive the average man of the power that were given to them by the APNU AFC through the holding of local government elections. And you are going to see a whole heap of strawmen arguments being put up for the delaying of, in support of the delaying of local government elections. You're going to see what I call false flag narratives being put forward. They're going to tell you, and you already see it. You already see Nandalal coming out there and talking about Lowenfield and Myers and whether or not they trust the GCOM secretariat. This is their plan. Another false flag initiative is this idea of a commission of inquiry into the elections. And the leader of the opposition dealt with that issue very condignly in his press conference when he said he is not going to be a part of any puppy show. Because that is what the commission of inquiry would be, a puppy show, a flam. And those were his words specifically. That he's not going to be a part of any flam puppy show. And that the commission of inquiry has already been initiated in the form of 2 petitions. Let me go to the article before I get to that. That's a very salient point, and I want to come back to it about what a flam this commission of inquiry would be, having no legal teeth, so to speak, no legal bite. And the courts, the High Court that is in charge of election petition matters, is where you need to have your commission of inquiry. So why are you fighting a petition, but you want an inquiry? You want to put on a puppy show, a publicity puppy show. That's what you want to do, the PVP. That's what the PVP wants to do. Right? But folks, let us get into the meat of this story here. I want to read a piece for you. I want to read a little piece. Though the government has given its commitment to hold local government elections in 2021, right, in 2021, No date has been set as yet. And our discussions about the elections at the election commission level, and these talks have been stalled for several weeks now. Even as the president stated that a commission of inquiry into the commission is coming soon, likely before LGE is held. You hear that? This is the false flag initiative I'm talking about. He wants to have a commission of inquiry before local government elections. These people are not interested in local democracy. They're interested in derailing local democracy so that power could be consolidated in the hands of the few, in the hands of Dharamlal and the few. Mark my words, they do not care about local government elections. The PPP, the PPP's track record on local government elections speaks for itself. If you had 23 years in power, and for 20 of those years you did not hold local government elections, what can you say to the Guyanese people to make them believe that you are interested in local democracy? Your actions speak much louder than anything that you can run around and say right now. It is absolutely clear that you are not interested, the PPP is not interested in local democracy. If the PPP was interested in local democracy, they would have held consistent local government elections in the 20 years they sat in the seat of power and allowed foolishness to happen at those regional levels. That is what they would have done. They would have ensured, right? They would have ensured that local government election was done. The PPP would have denied Guyanese people 7 local government elections. My math isn't good. I was never good at math, right? But I know 6 3 is 18. Another 3 more years and get 21. That's what I know. So the Guyanese people under the PPP were denied at minimum 6 local government elections. They were denied. Now they are in power and they are trying to deny the Guyanese people again. The problem with this, and I highlighted the problem with this, is that Guyanese from 2015 to 2020 would have tasted what local democracy tastes like, and they like it. The PPP and Mr. Darnell should go to those communities that are now governing their own affairs and making decisions for themselves and listen to the passion, the zeal and the zest and the fervor those people speak with when they talk about what they are doing for their community. And now that they don't have IMCs in place, who are basically the PPP cronies put in place to control the funds coming through the NDCs and the RDCs. Listen to those people. Those people talk with a passion. And I highlighted this, trying to take local democracy from the Guyanese people will be the biggest misstep and mistake the PPP will make. If there is one thing that will be the undoing of this fraudulent administration is them trying to deny Guyanese people what they tasted in 2015 to 2020, and that is local democracy and power in their own hands. That will be their undoing. So they are running around talking about COIs. The report continues. It says the commission has backed off completely, and this is coming from Commissioner Vincent Alexander, who was the primary source of this particular article in the Village Voice. The commission has backed off completely from any discussions in relation to the preparation of these elections. We started to discuss the question of elections from the most fundamental standpoint, that is the list. During the course of these discussions, to her credit, Commissioner Bibi Shadiq was the most vocal person that the elections have to be held. Right? While that was happening, though, the Attorney General Anand Nandalal came out with some statements which said that they are looking at legislative means to deal with GCOM under no circumstance will elections be held under the GCOM CEO Lowenfield and the Deputy CEO Myers. And then suddenly the commission, right, things went completely cold in the commission as it relates to the local government election. So, again, the commission wants to move forward, right? The commission wants to move forward with local government elections. But the Attorney General, in his actions, have derailed those discussions basically because he has said in no uncertain terms that they want Lowenfield and they want Myers. Again, as I noted, these are the false flags that you will see. These are the straw man arguments that they will put up. All to the end. This is the end. I mean, these are the means, but this is the end. The end is no local government election. Control power, consolidate the power in the hands of the few. Because the people in them communities, they know what they want. They don't deserve to have their own democracy in their hands. God put it in damn hand. Because he is the tin pot dictator, he knows exactly what communities need. And on that point, we were in Calcutta, in region number 5. We were also in Belladrum when a councillor, RDC councillor, stood up. And again, this speaks to what I was talking about when, as it relates to the moving or the grabbing of power from these local organs and consolidating it at the top of the Ministry of Local Government. She said, look, we, from 2015 to 2020, spent our own money in our communities and our neighborhoods. We knew what we wanted. Durham Land decided that he will decide for the people what they should have. And the councillor said, and he took the money and he bought some lights. She said torchlight, she called them. They had to put them halfway in the post. People laughing these lights. He said that the money all the money is supposed to be used to buy crush and run. But this is the embarrassment she is going through in her community because the tin pot dictator decided that he will dictate to these NDCs what they should be doing with their money. We saw the same thing in the Pomeroon. We saw the same thing. But he wanted to buy street lights. I don't know how he putting them down in the river in the Pomeroon. But folks, these are the things we continue to see. And this story is one, this article, I encourage you to go to the Village Voice and read this article for yourself. It is packed with so many significant information, significant things that will come back to this story. Right? We'll come back to this story. So, the final thing on this story is this COI. And let us get into that. This commission of inquiry. On the 12th of April, on the sidelines of the swearing in of members of the local government commission, President Irfan Ali, fraudulent as he is, told the media that you will have a COI into the elections, and we are working on that. A lot has occurred over the last 7 months, and we are dealing with it. But we are going to come to it, and it's going to be very soon. This commission of inquiry, right? Vincent Alexander, Commissioner Vincent Alexander, right, questioned the intention of the COI in the elections. Who will be the members of the team, right? And will this COI come directly from the parliament? He said that any COI has to originate from parliament. He said it has to originate from parliament. Once that is not done, once it does not originate from parliament, it will have difficulties being taken seriously, so to speak. It will also provide lots of room for confusion. And I say this because, simply put, and I will go back to the leader of the opposition's quote here, when he said that he will not be a part of any puppy show. And this COI will be just that. It will be a puppy show. Guyanese have realized that this fraudulent administration does not want the evidence to come out in the court of law. Unfortunately for the People's Progressive Party Civic, the petitions are in court and they will be heard. By the hooks or the crooks, the petitions will be heard, both of them. So these delay tactics that you're seeing being employed by the PBP are just that, delay tactics. Right? Folks, we are going to get to that. And we're going to talk about the petitions in more detail. But be aware of these false flag initiatives and false narrative that is being put out there by the PPP. We're going to leave the program now because now is a little after 6:30. We want to say thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. We had a very interesting discussion, and I'm happy that you're all part of this. We are going to be jumping over to building bridges with Natasha Singh Lewis, MP Natasha Singh Lewis, and of course, John Sherrod Duncan at 8 p.m. this evening. Folks, before we go, we have time for one more thing. One more thing, of course, brought to you by our friends at Black Pearl Seafood. Let's get into it.
Give me some folk song, let me sing something now.
Right. So one more thing this afternoon. We saw, and this is, we're ending on a little positive note. We saw the election of Mr. Trevor Ben as the chairman of the Guyana Public Service Society there. Of course, Public Service Credit Union, sorry. And of course, we are seeing good things coming forth. I mean, persons who are in the Public Service Credit Union will look forward to a number of improvements. which will see you being able to apply for loans and mortgages, and cars also, to buy vehicles. So a number of improvements there. We had, of course, there was an AGM recently, and Mr. Trevor Ben and his team won the elections. So we're looking forward to that. I know the Public Service Credit Union is something that many persons, many teach. I myself was a part of the credit union when I first got into teaching, and I'm grateful for what they're doing over there, the Public Service Credit Union. So those persons who are not, we encourage you to be a part of it. Take part. Go join. They have said, of course, dividends for the year for 2020, 2021 is available. So if you can go visit them, of course, COVID-19 regulations are in place. So we're ending with that one more thing today. We want to thank you very much. Thank our friends for joining us. We want to say, do enjoy the rest of your evening. And of course, let's continue to work for national development. As I always say, we'll be joining Natasha now. But let's continue to work for national development. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.